At first glance, the iPhone 15 Pro Max doesn't seem all that different from the iPhone 14 Pro. I feel like I said the same thing at last year's review for the 14 Pro, but genuinely, they don't look that different. But if you look a little bit closer, there are some changes to the iPhone 15 Pro that make a noticeable difference. But is it enough to consider upgrading to the iPhone 15 Pro? Well, after using the iPhone 15 Pro for over 6 months, I'd love to tell you my thoughts, what I liked, what I didn't like, and who I'd recommend this for. So, let's talk tech. I'm Agent with Ardently Tech, and for the past 6 months, I've been carrying around 3 different phones, which has been completely bizarre. My iPhone 14 Pro, which is my personal phone, my work phone, which is the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and the phone that I got for the channel, the Google Pixel 8. A review coming on this pretty soon. And in my daily use, I have to say there's very minimal difference between how I use these two iPhones. The 14 Pro and the 15 Pro are nearly identical, even with the dynamic island features. But there are some differences in the 15 Pro Max that do go a long way over time. So, let's start off with what I liked. There are things that I already liked from the 14 Pro that carried on into this phone, like the ProMotion display, the always on display, which actually got a little bit dimmer compared to the 14 Pro. And on the other side of that, the brightness of the display is a lot brighter on the iPhone 15 Pro, sometimes too bright. And then there's the dynamic island, which I had a lot of hope for and was a little disappointed about, but it's just a matter of different app developers integrating it into their apps. Now, with it being over a year old, there's obviously more apps using it, and I'm really excited about that. One of my favorite uses of the dynamic island is actually the scoreboard. The active updates on that is really nice because I can't always watch basketball games whenever I can. As a busy father and husband, I don't always get a chance to turn on the TV and watch the game, but with the dynamic island and the live updates, I'm able to take a quick glance at my iPhone and see, oh, okay, this is the score right now, we're doing great, or we're being killed. There's obviously also a lot of other apps that are incorporating the dynamic island into their app experience, which has been nice, but that's one of my favorites. Now, with the camera updates to this phone, that is where the difference starts to become a little bit more noticeable. Even as a YouTuber and as a normal person in my daily use, I don't use the full capacity of the iPhone 15 Pro's cameras, but all of the stuff that you're able to do, like connect the USB-C to shoot pro raw footage, is really cool for those who get to use that. But as someone who doesn't take advantage of that feature, it's just kind of going to waste. You can also take videos that will be cool on Apple Vision Pro. I think it's called a live video or 3D, it's like a 3D video. Kind of 3D. It's pretty cool when you get to experience it on the Vision Pro. If you didn't see that video, check out there. I took a demo. Vision Pro is really dope. But you can take the video with the 2 lenses here on the 15 Pro, which I don't understand why you couldn't do that with the 14 Pro or the 12 Pro or the 13 Pro, because the layout's the same. But it might just be a lens feature thing. So though I don't use the iPhone 15 Pro's cameras at its fullest capacity, I do take advantage of certain features and lenses when taking B-roll shots of my products for the YouTube channel. There have been also a lot of system updates that I really enjoyed between the iPhone 15 Pro, but that's not really iPhone 15 Pro specific. But one of my favorite features that I love that I know has been available on the Google Pixel phones, but just being able to take a picture of a certain food and having information on what that food is, or a plant, and seeing, oh, what plant is that? There's a little eye button that you can tap on and see information on said product or said plant. And it's just really neat to be able to do that. So you can just look up, you press that eye, you can look up a certain food or recipes for certain things. And I really enjoy that. Even though that's not an iPhone 15 Pro specific feature, there's an overall feature that I love using on iPhones right now, which I felt was necessary to share. But on to the big 3 noticeable things that I experienced when using the iPhone 15 Pro, and the first one being the build quality and the design of the iPhone 15 Pro. The titanium and the rounded edges for this iPhone 15 Pro did a lot for it. And I know a lot of people have said that, but it really is a different experience holding this compared to the rigidness of the iPhone 14 Pro and previous models. Not to mention the glossy sides on the 14 Pro just got old after a while, where this, I feel like I have a better grip on the 15 Pro. And granted, I don't use the iPhone 15 Pro out of its case very often, but it does entice me to do it more because of how easy it is to feel. If you want to know what case I do use the Pitaka case, which is really nice. Not sponsored, but hey Pitaka, if you want to sponsor us our videos, we're open. The titanium was obviously, like it says, very light and durable, and you can definitely feel the weight difference even with the 15 Pro Max. If I'm real with you, the 14 Pro feels just like in the hand, the way it's distributed the weight, the 15 Pro feels a little lighter, even though they probably are around the same weight. this just feels a little bit lighter because of how it's distributed. The second noticeable difference in my day-to-day use was actually the battery life on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Coming from the 14 Pro, I was impressed by its battery life, but over time it did start to slowly not hold its battery as well as it used to. Even with a battery health around 90%, it just seemed to have to be charged more than once in a day. Where this iPhone 15 Pro, I can almost go a day and a half without having to charge it. Granted, it's probably because I have the 14 Pro, but the 15 Pro Max just seems to lap it by miles. Even 6 months later, it still holds its battery very well, and I would love to see what it does in a year from now. And the third and final big noticeable change is obviously the USB-C. Something that I was gonna say in the beginning, but I was like, man, this is like one of the biggest things that I didn't think that I was gonna enjoy that much. Everyone was making a big deal about iPhones not having USB-C and this and that, and I didn't really care. Like, I can just carry 2 cables. But now, living in a world where my iPhone 14 Pro is the only device that I really need a lightning cord for, and maybe my AirPods, but I usually just wirelessly charge those. It definitely makes a noticeable difference in your day-to-day use having one USB-C cord. You can just find one. My wife even has a 15 Plus, and so even her phone takes USB-C. My iPhone is the only iPhone around that takes lightning in this house now. Every one of my other Apple devices, my MacBook, my iPad, and my work phone all use USB-C, and having one type of wire around the house is easier for myself, for my wife to find, not having to distinguish which wire is which. Just using that one wire or using the same type of wire around the house does make a difference, and I underestimated that by a long shot. This is just something I didn't expect to be as excited about as I am. Now, before I move on to what I didn't like about the iPhone 15 Pro, make sure to like this video below if you enjoyed it and found it helpful so far. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bells. And if you want to get any of the accessories or the iPhones through our affiliate links in the description below, it'd mean the world to us because you support our channel by doing so. Now let's go on to what I didn't like about the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And the first thing I'm going to mention might ruffle some feathers, or maybe you might agree. It's that action button, which at first that was actually one of the features I was pretty excited about, but maybe I didn't use it the right way or I didn't play with it enough. Having one function for that button seemed to be a little lackluster. Maybe a double tap to do something else, maybe you can map the buttons, or maybe you can double tap buttons and do a different shortcut would be nice. Being able to do only one thing with the action button doesn't feel very action-y. It would be cool if I can hold down the action button and the power button and it does something different, just like how you can screenshot with the power button and the up volume button. And also the button being the Pro Max, it's just a little awkward to get to. You have to like shuffle to get to that power button if I want to use it. And I honestly don't even use it that often, but it is not in a comfortable spot. For most people, the toggle was just turned on one time and then never touched again. If they just placed it under the volume buttons, I think it would be a better place for it. I think it would just be a bit more accessible for almost everybody. And the other thing that really kind of disappointed me with the iPhone 15 Pro Max was just that it doesn't look that much different. Again, there are some minor changes, and the minor changes do a lot for it, but the innovations aren't as they used to, and that's not a big deal. I did do a video on that. Check that out up there in the cards, where iPhone innovations and smart home innovations in general aren't rapidly changing year to year like they used to in the earlier years of technology. So it's not necessarily something that sucked about the iPhone 15 Pro in general, it's just technology in general. I just hope that the 16 Pro might even adopt a little bit different of a design or continue on this path of changing minor things to freshen up the iPhone experience every year. So given all of that, would I recommend this, and who would I recommend this for? Just like I said in my last year's iPhone 14 Pro review, this 15 Pro doesn't feel like an absolute mandatory upgrade, but it does feel a bit more of a recommendable upgrade compared to the 14 Pro, mainly because of the USB-C and maybe the titanium. If you have an older iPhone or like 11 or 12 or something that's not a Pro model, going up to the Pro Max or something, just any of the iPhone 15s that have USB-C, which is all of them, I would recommend. If you have a 13 Pro or 14 Pro, this is obviously not a necessary upgrade. If you have the money, sure, but you really don't need to. I mean, the USB-C is really the biggest change that I would recommend anyone for, because again, it's just, once you switch to USB-C, everything, it really does make a difference. Overall, I'm giving it a grade of a 9 out of 10. Last year I gave the 14 Pro an 8 out of 10, But with the USB-C, it really does bump it up. The titanium, the curved edges, there's a lot to like about it. Like I said this last year with the 14 Pro, they're still missing a wow feature that makes you stand out of your seat and applaud Apple for the innovation like they used to, but I don't think they're far off. Let me know in the comments if you have a 15 Pro, if you enjoyed it, or if you are someone who's been considering it but not sure, and what's holding you back. Maybe you're not an iPhone user, or maybe you're someone who's considering switching to an Android. Well, stay tuned for my video on the Google Pixel 8 review that I've been using for over 6 months as well. That will be coming soon, and if it's already up, it'll be right here. Otherwise, you can watch any of the other videos on our channel. We'll see you there. Peace.